Richard Reeves came in today. We just got back from our trip around the country. Hey, Richard, do you know where the newspaper is where it says Girls Night Out, all female police checkpoints?
I think it is somewhere on the vehicle somewhere. I'll have to track it down, but I remember seeing that paper.
Because I thought I hauled it off, and then I couldn't find it.
I think I've got it somewhere.
I don't even want to cover this stuff till I get it all together. Of course, I had the little activity books they give all the kids about how to spy on your parents. That's nice at the national parks.
Well, that is nice. They find every way they can to encroach on us.
Well, the state knows best, Richard.
No,
now I got a document cam shot over here of a printout. This is the two-sided, one-sheet Ron Paul 2012 color printout. I am the champion of the Constitution, Ron Paul, and it breaks down where he stands. They want to get this out to all Iowa voters. Now, we're not going to just talk about this. We're talking about some other Ron Paul strategy, but even a big activist and a delegate and all the rest of it, Richard. But we are trying to get this out to everybody right now. So we're seeing him in first or second place in scientific polls. And the media is having to admit now he is a top-tier candidate. So their hoax is really starting to break. Now they're moving into the attack mode with these setups with Gingrich and people.
Well, thanks to all the grassroots activists out there, that's why the polls are going so well for them. As a matter of fact, they're so scared of some of these straw polls. For example, here in Texas, they even canceled the Texas straw poll earlier this year. Normally in September, August, they do a straw poll in Texas for the presidential race, and they didn't even do it here for that very reason, is the grassroots activists. Most campaigns are run from the top down. The top cadre of campaign people put together some event, or they'll try to create some news event. With the Ron Paul thing, it's the reverse. It's from the bottom up. We saw that with the creation of the real Tea Party. The origin of the Tea Party were Ron Paul revolutionaries. We had the past money bombs, like remember the 5th of November. Remember how the news media tried to spin that, that it was all about a violent thing or whatever, when it was just kind of a rallying cry to push everybody forward. And all the different money bombs that the volunteers have coordinated and put together, and the past meetup groups that they've done over the years, the meetup groups that organically sprung up. So this is and I forgot about the Ron Paul blimp back in 2007, 2008 election cycle.
Or Ted Anderson in the Ron Paul Air Force.
That's right. I mean, the grassroots.
And again, look how Ron Paul's probably 5 times bigger this time. I told people, don't get mad if he loses. It's fighting that wins. Now people have heard about liberty. Now the hottest movement on campuses, and this is an Upset Bilderberg group from Tucker sources that are impeccable, is that it's not communism or mainline fake right-wing stuff that's popular. It's liberty. It's anti-big state ideas. It's Atlas Shrugged type stuff. The system is scared.
Well, they should be scared because, like I said, all these other campaigns that you look at, you don't see any grassroots real fervor to them or whatever. And the Ron Paul campaign is the only one that I've been able to discern and identify that does have that grassroots fervor where people get together, they get their websites together, they get their coalitions together, and they themselves take action. And that's what really is differentiating the other campaigns especially. And now we are just this close. In the straw polls and all these different polls that they're showing, we are just this close from really being able to go in and win primary elections. In the past, I said, hey, we can have an effect in primary elections, but this time, Iowa, New Hampshire are key places. Iowa coming up is January 3rd for Iowa. New Hampshire is January 10th. And, folks, I cannot tell you how key these are. And Iowa is especially a key place because that is a caucus state. And what that means is people literally physically show up to have their bodies and their hands counted as to how they're going to vote in presidential primary. That's how they vote. It's kind of like a convention-type process. And so these things, I know this is just the day after Turkey Day, and people are probably still hung over from the UT-A&M game. And I know I heard you on the show talking earlier how they had a photo finish and everything on that game, and I didn't even know until I heard you talking about the game. So that's how unplugged I am from football. But, folks, the time to start thinking about...
Well, I mean, it'd be fine if we plugged into football if we had our Constitution. But, I mean, literally... Now MF Global's $3 billion missing.
Really?
And they're just saying you're not getting your money.
And MF Global was such a small outfit that prior to you and Gerald Celente talking about it, I'd never even heard of it. Imagine if we see Vanguards and Fidelities and outfits that are almost household words going down the tubes like that. That's
what the derivatives are going to do. And at each stage, we're going to give the bankers everything. Okay, here's $10 trillion more. Just save my pension fund. But if you look at it in the aggregate, they're going to steal it all slowly. First, they cut, half the salami, and you keep half. And they say, give us half again, give us half again. Pretty soon, you're down to one slice, and you're going, okay, bankers save me. And they're like, okay, you get half a slice, then quarter slice, and then, a tenth of a slice, and then a tenth of a slice, until it's the size of an atom. And you're like, thank you, bankers, for my one atom of salami.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I've got a stack of news, mainstream, saying the world is now ruled by Goldman Sachs. They control the countries. There's no more freedom in Europe. And they're raising taxes on everyone. And that's the way it is. And
you just pointed out that in Europe, that's where to look at to see where they're trying to make us go. Because in Europe, they are really cracking down on the austerity and putting people everywhere.
Oh, it's all coming here, folks. I mean, it's amazing. But getting back to Ron Paul, tell us about this mailer. Because this is, my cousin is here in town. And he's in Illinois working, and he told me, he said he is doing the phone bank stuff where they give him the numbers and he calls people and, basically asks them questions about the election to get them talking, and then brings up Ron Paul and his real issues, which is very effective in Iowa and other key states. He's talking about physically going to Iowa.
Well, and that's what happened last election cycle, is a lot of folks did go to Iowa, and I predict that this year even more folks will go to Iowa. We had people from Texas going up to Iowa. We had people from Texas going up to New Hampshire and working as volunteers up there. So that's the type of grassroots thing that's going on with the Ron Paul campaign last election and this election that other campaigns really don't have, unless they pay big, big, big dollars to all these people to go, which the Ron Paul campaign obviously is not going to have. But what a lot of Ron Paul activists have done, similar to a Ted Anderson effort, Ron Paul blimp type effort, is they've put together a great brochure to try to break through the media Berlin Wall, and their plan is to get those mailed to every Republican, what they call a super voter, regular primary voters in Iowa and New Hampshire. They want to mail those out to those targeted past primary voters and also independent primary voters. So those are key voters that are going to get these mailers, and they're just got the rock bottom, just cost price. If you go to that RonPaulProducts.com, Ron Paul Products.
Is this an official Ron Paul thing?
Right. It's sanctioned by all the. It's an affiliated of like the DailyPaul.com, RonPaulForums.com. All of these groups that are Ron Paul affiliated websites are together on this effort. And that's how you can find, as a matter of fact, the way you can do it is you can drill down to where you can go to a specific county in Iowa, and you can fund that effort of getting those brochures mailed to those particular counties. And so the plan is, if they can succeed in Iowa in getting about 500,000 brochures mailed to all the super primary voters in Iowa, then the next phase would be going to New Hampshire and South Carolina and et cetera. But the deadline really is to get these things out on time, because the January 3rd caucus date for Iowa is right around the corner. The deadline is only about a week away for them to be in time to get these things out. So RonPaulProducts.com, and you'll see right there, it says mail the brochure. You click on that link, and it'll walk you through going to select a county there in Iowa, and you can do a variety of other things to help there too. But yeah, all these affiliated Ron Paul websites, and as you can see, I showed you on the brochure, they've got the Ron Paul 2012, the official website for Ron Paul, and the Daily Paul and the Ron Paul Forums websites on there. And they've fact-checked and checked all the data on these brochures. They've carefully gone through them to make them as powerful as they could and as precise as they could and as exacting as they could. So you can go to the website and you can have a look at the brochure for yourself. And they've also set it up to where you can purchase these and pass out in your own precincts in your own state. But that's another story.
And regardless, even if Ron Paul doesn't win, which he has a really good chance to, even with all of the election fraud, you're educating people about liberty. You're educating them about what the Constitution is, not what a bunch of Republican pro-torture, warmongering, carbon tax-loving people are saying, not what a bunch of banker-funded, New World Order-funded Obama people. I mean, what about the idiot Occupy Wall Street subgroup protesting Ron Paul? I mean, these people are just absolute idiots.
Those guys have pretty much succeeded in demonizing the First Amendment. I was listening to talk radio today all the way from Fort Worth, Dallas down to Austin, and pretty much the two radio stations, 570 and 590, I heard, they're all talking about, hey, Forget about First Amendment. Let's just charge these guys for what they're doing.
It's incredible. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
More news coming up.